All right, so we found a couple problems with the Subaru. The valve covers are leaking. I thought it was only the passenger side, and I thought I can get away with just cleaning it up, tightening a PCV hose, but that is not the case. I pulled the spark plugs on one side, and there's a little bit of oil on it, so luckily, we ordered everything for that. We got new gaskets and we got new plugs. We're gonna replace both sides, but I got to thinking, why not buy more crap for it? So we got a turbo coming. I think turbo's coming today. I got turbo inlet, boost controller. What else? Oh, I got an AOS. That's actually here. That thing's sweet. And yeah, I think that's all I bought. Hopefully that's all I bought. But we're gonna put all that stuff in. So we're gonna change the valve covers and the spark plugs on this video. We might prep a little bit for everything else. So I gotta pull some stuff out, like the top mount intercooler, battery, all that fun stuff. But let's get into the valve covers. We're also gonna replace the half moons with some billet ones from Company 23. I know the ones that come stock with the engines are like plastic, so they kind of warp with heat, and that's where a lot of the leakage comes from for the valve covers. So let's get into this video. Let's clear some space. I'll probably do the passenger side first, show you how that's done, and then we're gonna get all the stuff out on the driver side and get that one going. I think that side is a little harder, but we'll see. All right, so once you get the air box out of here, you have plenty of room to get to these spark plugs and coil packs. People say that these are really hard to get spark plugs in and out of. I would say not the case, at least for the passenger side. I haven't seen the driver's side yet. I just have to move a couple things. Once I was taking this spark plug out, whoever had this before me, looks like they broke a clip on this coil pack and just zip tied it. So I ordered a new plug that I'm gonna have to reconnect these wires to. So I don't know when that'll be here. It's almost Christmas time, but we'll see. So when that gets here, we're gonna replace that. As you can see, it's very brittle, just snapped another piece on it. So I'm gonna leave this out. I might plug it back in if I need to restart it, but I'm probably not gonna start it until everything else is done. So for this, I'm probably just gonna put these to the side and just leave them out so it makes my life a little bit easier. But let's undo this coil pack and take it out and see what the spark plug looks in this. When I ordered new plugs, I made sure to get the black one. So there's black for the back and a white one for the front coil pack. So if you do have to replace these, make sure you get the correct one. So the best way to get these spark plugs out, I found, is with magnetic. So the best way I found to get these spark plugs out, and just any spark plugs in general, these would probably be super helpful, are magnetic sockets. This little kit I bought on Amazon comes with a few different sizes. The Subaru, you're gonna need a 5/8. What's very important, at least for these ones, I think, is finding sockets that have the, like, what's it called? The socket part. So where a socket can fit on and you can actually like turn it that way. So just more versatile. And you can obviously put the extension on it as well. But anyways, you're gonna need like a few different attachments for it. It's gonna be different for each side, like depending on the space you have, but I use the magnetic socket with a deep what is it, deep 19mm socket on top of this. I break it free with, so this setup right here, so I have a 3/8 wrench with a swivel head. It just helps you get away from the hoses a little bit better. So break it free, and then once it's broken free, it's pretty loose. You can just take the socket part out or the wrench part out and then just unthread it with your hands until it comes out, and then the magnetic part will hold the socket in place. So let's get this spark plug out of this side, and then we need to break the valve cover off. So this is a 3/8 kit, and we're using a 19mm smaller socket, like a not as deep one, and then a little extension. We're gonna put that in there. It's gonna come out just enough for us to put our ratchet on there to break it free. There we go. Now, once you broke it free and it's loose enough, you're just gonna back it out by hand. There you have it. So this plug does have a little bit of oil on it, not much. It's not super concerning, but there is a little bit of oil. There's oil obviously around the valve cover, so that just means the valve cover is leaking a little bit and we need to change out the gasket on it, which is pretty simple. We have all the tools, we have all the gaskets for it, half moons, all that stuff. We also have new spark plugs. So the spark plugs I'm gonna be using are the NGK Iridium ones. These say they come pre-gapped, but I am yet to find one that are gapped correctly. So I wanna gap these at 0.031. You are gonna need feeler gauges to do that. So everyone says you can't gap Iridium spark plugs. You definitely can. You just need to be very, very careful with the tip. And I would highly suggest getting a gapping tool just so you're not pounding it on the table or something metal or whatever. Luckily for me, I have a 3D printer and you can just print a tool. It's super easy. I found it on Bamboo Labs thing. If you need the file, you can ask, but you can just type it in, search it up, and I found this one that it doesn't fit perfectly in there, but it should work just fine. So here's the spark plug, and then that little tip right where the metal goes over it, I don't know if you can see it, but it's really tiny. Be very careful of that part. We are going to take our feeler gauges. I highly recommend getting some of these like small ones that are like individual, not the little circle puck. That thing will damage the tip if you jam it in there. So let's check these plugs with the highest one, which is 0.035. And I'm gonna be very meticulous and careful. So these should be gapped at 0.031, and this 0.035 easily goes in between. So that means we need to shrink that gap a little bit, and we are going to assemble this thing. This thing just uses an M6 screw and nut, which I have an abundance of. All right, so here is the tool all assembled. So we're gonna take our spark plug and we're gonna put it in this tool. So this is how the tool, let's see if I can, yeah. It just takes this little screw, brings it down, pinches that little metal part on the top down a little bit, but be very careful not to go like too low. Let me see if I can get some, seems like a piece of shit. All right, so this is jammed in here. We're just gonna slowly crank this down so it bends that metal piece down closer to the tip. And we're gonna use our gauge to check it every single time with the correct gauge. I'm actually gonna do this at 0.03 and see how that goes. Don't just crank this thing down and hope for the best. You wanna go very slowly. Also being very mindful of the tip. So I'm putting this in as slowly as I can. I'm just doing not even quarter turns. All right, now this one is gapped to where I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the sleeve back on, put it back in its little box. And I'm going to mark on this little box what it's at. So it's marked, I'm gonna put it to the side, I'm gonna do the rest, just so I know that these are all gapped, and then we'll go ahead and pull the valve cover off and do all this stuff, and I'll probably put these in very last. Before you start taking any bolts off of the valve cover, you wanna make a little thing out of cardboard of where these bolts go, because they're all different sizes. I bought new bolts just because I wanted to update everything. These ones are a little greasy, they're a little rounded. So I'm still going to take those bolts and put them in the correct orientation of where they go. Just label it front, so I'm labeling front of the car and then the cabin area, the rear. But I'm gonna take each bolt off, put them in this little card, just to make sure I know which bolts go where, because some are short, some are long. And then I'm just gonna match them up with the new bolts, put the new bolts in once we get everything cleaned up and the gasket on. So let's start taking this apart, putting these where they need to go. You don't need to drain the oil to do this. You might have a little oil leaking out, so just throw some towels down there, you'll be fine. But I would say if you are planning on doing an oil change, then just drain the oil, you'll be good, but there shouldn't really be oil in the valve cover, like pouring out. So let's get into it. All right, let's get to cracking. You also want to take these PCV hoses off. Mine didn't have clamps on them. I just put this clamp on, but we're gonna take these off. So now that we have all the bolts off, as you can see, they are different sizes. There's 3 small in the front and 5 in the back. This is the orientation that they came off of. The front of the vehicle is right here, and the rear cabin side is over here. This just keeps track of your bolts. Getting them off, I used one of these like offset wrenches. I used a smaller, I don't know where it is. I used a smaller 3/8 ratchet just to get in smaller places. A longer 3/8 swivel head ratchet. And then also these, I bought these long wrenches. They're closed on both ends. But these just give you more leverage to break the bolts free. And it's got a little bit of a lip, socket, whatever you want to call it, to get in there a little bit easier. But these are probably like the 4 tools that are best. These are kind of expensive. These aren't as expensive. Icon makes fantastic tools, lifetime warranty. If you break it, you just take it in, they'll give you a new one. Harbor Freight, love their stuff. But, so with these bolts, I actually went ahead and got brand new OEM bolts. So this is front and rear bolts. We got the longer ones. I got these off fastwrx.com. Great website for OEM parts. Check them out if you want to get fresh hardware or really like gaskets. I think I got my gaskets from there as well. So let's crack open the valve cover and see what we got. All right, make sure you have these hoses off. Everything's out of the way. Make sure all your bolts are out, and then we're gonna try and be a little bit gentle with this to try and not damage anything. If we're lucky, it'll come off easy. Just a little pressure with, I just used a little pry bar and went where the bolt hole was. I'm trying to stay away from the edges of where like the gasket is, just to be sure. So we do have a little oil coming out. I have a pan down there. Easy peasy. Let's take this old gasket off. Also gonna get another towel and just put it covering all of the opening just for now. We don't want stuff flying in here. So this is just gonna be until we are ready to put the gasket on. Or put the new gasket and the new cover on. Here I'm just cleaning up the valve cover. It's always good to just make sure it's clean. You can see where if new oil leaks out later on down the line, and you'll know if you have an issue. I'm just using a little nylon brush with some brake clean. I use quite a bit of brake clean on both of these valve covers. So I would probably say buy 2 or 3 cans of this stuff and really get in there, clean it all out. You don't necessarily have to do this step, but it's always good to clean up a little. All right, I went ahead and took out one of these half moons. I just used some pliers and I grabbed it by the top and just wiggled it free to break the RVT that's on it. And this thing is destroyed. It's so brittle, it's literal crap. If you are doing this, I suggest replacing these. And I went ahead and picked up some Company 23 ones, which are billet aluminum. So there's these beautiful little half moons. Same thing, just aluminum, plastic. The ones that come from Subaru are plastic. And the great thing about these Company 23 ones are on the back, you can stick a little Allen key in there and turn it and break the RVT a lot easier if you ever need to do another gasket job. And then you just clean these off, reuse them, and you're good to go. So we're gonna be putting these in first with a very thin layer of RVT on the bottom. So there's where the half moon was, and then there's another one right down there that you need to take out. You just grab some pliers, wiggle it out, be a little careful. You don't wanna damage the cylinder head, even though they are the half moons are plastic, so you should be fine. But just carefully remove those, and then we're going to scrape the entire cylinder head to get all the gasket off and ready and prepped for the new one to go on. There we go. And we got it. So now I'm just gonna go in here with a razor blade and clean up all the sides where the gasket touches and get it prepped. All right, yes, I am in different clothes. This is day 2. It does take a while to film these, but yes, I am in different clothes, and this is day 2 of doing this job. I had to work, you know, life takes a while to film these, but I cleaned off the surface of where the gasket is gonna be going. Before I put gasket maker on the cylinder head side, I'm actually gonna put the spark plugs in because you do have a lot more room to get the plugs in and torque them down. I'm a big torque guy, so I wanna always make sure I torque everything down just so I have that like peace of mind. So we're gonna put these plugs in, and they are torqued down to 15 foot-pounds. With the cover off, it's gonna be way easier to get a torque wrench in there and get these torqued down. You don't necessarily have to torque them down. There's a crush washer, but I like to just in case. Okay, so with these Company 23 half moons, they come with an Allen key on one side, and then it's flat on the other. The Allen key part goes outside of the engine, and then this part goes on the inside. So we're gonna be using some 3-bond. This is what Subaru recommends for their gaskets. This is the gray version. It's in Japanese, so you can't really read it, but this side is English. So with the 3-bond, you wanna put a very small, like very thin layer on the inside, and then I do it on like the little edges as well, and just spread it in with your finger. And it just needs to be a thin layer on these half moons so it seats properly. So you want to make sure those half moons are seated in there properly, and making sure that they are flush with the top of the cover so we get a good seal, and push these in really well. Now that our half moons are in, we can put the gasket on the valve cover. It's pretty straightforward. This is just an OEM Subaru gasket. Get it in there nice and snug. Don't forget the coil ones. All right, now we're gonna put some gasket maker all along the edges. This is gonna be really hard to see. I'll show it to you once I'm done putting it on. But you wanna make sure you get anywhere where there's like an intersection, like with the half moons, there's gonna be like an extra gap. Put a little more on those little seams, as well as, you can't really see it, but there's 2 corners, one on the top, one on the bottom, of where 2 metal pieces meet. You want to just put a little extra on there. All right, once you get the gasket maker on, you just spread it around with your fingers, and it should look a little bit like this. You see it? It's just like a thinnish layer all around where the cover goes. All right, we are all finished with this side. So this is where you'd put your coil packs back in, but I'm not going to. I'll put this one back in, but I still need to replace the clip on this one. And then also, so when tightening these bolts, I just snugged them down. I think the torque spec's like 5 foot-pounds, so just snug them up, they'll be good. I kind of tightened them in a star-ish pattern, just so the gasket seats nicely and it tightens evenly. Also, don't forget your PCV hoses. I'm gonna leave the one on the right undone because I have an AOS that I'm gonna be putting in. The left one, I need to find a new compression fitting. So put those back in, and then you're all set. All right, we got this side all buttoned up. Last thing we need to do is put on the oil fill. And my gasket kit came with a new O-ring for the fill. So we're gonna put that on, put the oil fill back on, and then I'm gonna wait to put all this stuff back because I broke a clip to another coil pack. So I do have to replace that as well. So I'm gonna wait for that. My gasket kit, when I got the driver's side, came with a little O-ring for right here. I just took the other one off and it was super brittle, literally broke instantly. This thing is much more squishier and better. So we're gonna toss this in and then we're gonna be all finished. All right, that is it for the valve covers. So we replaced the valve covers, the spark plugs with some iridium spark plugs. I still need to finish up the coil packs. So both of the coil packs on the back, on both sides, broke. So I need to replace those. And then once we put those in, we can start on the next project. So if you guys like this video, please like it, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or even concerns, maybe I did something wrong, whatever, just let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.